Love of a Possession. Chapter 1. Without apology, I declare the human that may from time to time wear me to be a mere supporting actor in this unusual scenario, given my assumption of the role of protagonist. My name, as I am French-looking, is best expressed in the diplomatic tongue. Je m'appelle Singh, and, quote, I am a handcrafted 16-carat gold signet ring set with a smooth, uncarved shield of antique Victorian sardonyx. I entered the world in 1900 AD, when I was purchased at Gray's Antique Market, located at Davies Street in the upper-class district of Mayfair, in the heart of London. Some admirers flatter my wearer, but not yours truly, by suggesting that I have a sort of gilded Egyptian charm, a la Omar Sharif, I suppose. At my most modest, I tend to believe that it's really the glamour of this ring style that exudes a sense of authority, prestige, and heritage, which is usually absent in competing adornments. Historically, as you know, men who wear rings of this caliber seem emboldened by symbols of power and identity. And some signet rings carry a unique engraving representing a specific individual, a family, or institution. Documents sealed by a signet ring assumed a mark of social standing, and signet rings such as myself serve today as a representation of one's lineage, so that men proudly wear rings passed down through generations. In this way, they are connecting to their ancestry and preserving their family's legacy. And no, wearing a ring does not make a person the avatar of the ring, however beautiful, but it's the finger a ring is worn on that informs the character, meaning, and symbolism of the signet ring that is paired with the bearer. In the past, the Romans and Greeks believed a vein from the left ring finger ran directly to the heart of the human being to whom it is paired. It is called the vena amoris, or vein of love. Take your pick. Some men wear their heart on their sleeve. In others, their wealth and influence is displayed on the pinky finger. Clergymen and prelates convey leadership and power via an engraved ring on the index finger. I have been warned by a teenager anxious to show me off by placing me on his middle finger, because that was the only finger large enough to enable him to make such an unconventional fashion statement. Whereas the anatomical theory of the vein of love is not scientifically accurate. The Western tradition holds fast to the wearing of wedding rings on the ring finger. Whatever your belief, the choice of finger carries a sense of identity and an insight into the wearer's value system. Because of the involuntary, for me, closeness to a human being and in his service, I liken in my darker moments my companionship to the institutional relationship of master and servant. Chapter 2. It was 5 years ago, in 2019, that I was retired from the service of Master Knox, with whom I was proud to be personally acquainted for 67 years. Perhaps fatalistically at first, but gradually with much more than a ton of affection, as I was restlessly shifted from finger to finger, and depending on the compass from right to left hand as well. When Knox was exceptionally busy and wished to set up a reminder, he would studiously move me so being in an unaccustomed position on his hand would remind him of an activity he didn't want to miss. Sometimes he would spin the ring around so the signet was turned to face the palm of the hand, and this would jog his hippocampus. At the end of an interesting discussion one day on culture and the elderly couple's youthful days in Jamaica, which was a class project of Knox's youngest grandson, he was given dominion over me to wear me when or where he wished, but with prestige. Not to mention that with me on his middle finger, I was boastfully displayed as an heirloom of great distinction. The significance of this gesture, which was admittedly more to honor him than to amuse me, was that deviation from the norm provided the opportunity for my new assignment in the service of an up-and-coming member of the Gordon Scottish clan. This poignant act had the effect of elevating my status to be the most valuable and endearing piece of jewelry, borne aloft by the Herculean athletic structure of soccer player Matthew de Gordon. My shiny gold luster and their companion symbolism of wealth and prosperity was in that moment passed irretrievably to Matthew. He would understand that one day, consistent with the inescapable cycle of maturity from teenager to adulthood, he shall release from the shadows of security to repose alongside his most treasured possessions and be pleased to wear me on his most befitting finger. And I, Sing, shall be pleased to be his signet ring, playing a role for which my training and apprenticeship eminently equipped me. I was being delegated the responsibility of family rep. Obsessed with this exalted status, Matthew shall spend all of his waking hours with me, providing that larger-than-life fulfillment of his destiny to care for and keep me safe. I, in my small magical way, will embrace the chosen finger of my soul mate, reciprocating in caring ways his enthusiasm and his charismatic golden smile. Nostalgia, 1952 to 2014. The coronation of Elizabeth II, Queen of Britain, took place in the year 1952, and this coincided with a major change in my life. Looking back, I remember my 1900 entrance on the world stage, and the bearer that I have worn me since then. The first was an Irishman by the name of Thomas Breckenridge Knox, who purchased me at the time of his marriage in 1900 to Amanda Clark. She carried me by ocean steamer in her satin-lined jewelry case to Jamaica from the memorable purchase at Gray's Antique Market in London. Knox wore me in his middle finger while he worked in his professional field of accounting. Stanford George Knox was born in 1911. His father was Captain Bertrand Victor Knox, whose parents were Thomas Breckenridge Knox and Antoinette Georgiana Mann. It was from his grandfather that Big George received me, a prized signet ring. Unsure of my safety, Stanford requested his sister Sadie Beryl to hide me and keep me safe. But one day in a panic, he wanted me back. She knew he was very fond of me and proud of owning me, so she pressed him for an answer as to why he appeared agitated. He confessed to her that he was going to pawn me to get money to buy something that fascinated him, which he needed deeply. Instead, she gave him the money and held on to me. But she vowed to return me to him if he had a son. Stanford's only son, Nathan, died because of a genetic illness at age 11 in 1952. That year, Beryl's son, Knox, turned 13 years old, and following the Jewish custom of his great-grandmother's namely Antoinette Mann on the maternal side, and Johanna Suarez, his father's grandmother, I was presented to him to hold and to wear until it was time to pass on the baton of heredity. I remained on his fingers as they grew in size. At school, the ring was admired because the purple shield was the coat of arms of Kingston College. I sailed with him in the harbour of Kingston and across the pond to Britain on the Queen Mary, and he was at his left hand until he attained in 2014 the age of 75, when he had an autoimmune issue causing his hands to become swollen. With application of ice and Windex as a lubricant, I was with difficulty removed from his swollen finger. I rested in his wife's jewelry case until he attained the ripe old age of 80. That was the year in which Matthew Gordon came over to his grandparents to conduct an interview as a journalist, asking questions of them about how they cherish love and hope. Amazing hours spent answering questions about Jamaica. Grandma and Grandpa were so inspired by his earnestness, his smart comments and quick wit, they decided there and then to pass the baton effectively to him on the conclusion of the interview. They were impressed by Matt's intellectual and spiritual development. They were imbued with love. And I, Singh, the signet ring, was woven into their reactions as that much-loved family possession passed on to another proud generation. Matt never expected it. He was overcome with joy, ready to wave the Irish Breckenridge flag of his maternal ancestors. I had proudly and faithfully served my retiring master. But alas, a new ring bearer was selected. Habemus novum annulum signifer. There's a new sheriff in town.